Hello, and welcome to 2-Minute Talk Tips. I'm Bill Monroe. This week's tip, record yourself. When you record your practice sessions and your actual presentation, you give yourself a powerful tool. You give yourself an enhanced ability to grow and improve as a speaker. You get the chance to hear what is actually right and what is actually ineffective in your talk. You can't easily do this without a recording. And that's because that as you're speaking, you are, or probably ought to be, focused on speaking. You can't get an accurate assessment of how well you are speaking because, well, first of all, you're distracted. Second, your voice always sounds different live because you're hearing it resonate through your skull instead of the way that your audience is hearing it. And third, you're simply too close to the content to get an accurate assessment at that moment. When you listen to a recording a day or a week or a month later, listen to it differently than your audience does. Your audience, hopefully, listened for your message. The things you should listen for when you review your recording include things like, do the points logically flow from one to the next? Are the transitions smooth? Are there any phrases in there that are tripping your tongue up? I mean, a phrase might sound good or look good when you write it out or when you hear it in your head, but once the air hits the larynx, all bets are off. The tongue might sometimes refuse to go along with that particular construction. Are you using too many filler words? Words like, like. There's no excuse in this day and age to not record yourself. Nearly every business professional has a smartphone. If your phone didn't come with a recording app, download one from your favorite web store. And here's the bonus about recording your session. If that recording or that presentation sounds really good, save it for your portfolio in case you want to give a prospective employer a sample of your public speaking skills. Stick around, and after the break, we'll hear the conclusion of the interview I did with Tim Garber. Welcome back to a very special episode of 2-Minute Talk Tips. This week, Tim and I talk about the passion public speaking inspires in both of us and many other speakers around the world. Let's get right to it. Whereas what I find a lot of folks are doing is they're coming with these auxiliary skills, and the biggest obstacle they have is they don't know how to get up in front of a group and be a strong presenter and a strong speaker. And it's very interesting to see how that approaches it from both of those sides.
And it's fun, because that's normal. See, that's the thing. That's normal. You and I think it's weird, but no, we're the weird ones. We're the weird ones. I mean, public speaking, that's the thing. I mean, I know it's happened to you too. I used to have people, Toshiba people, decent salespeople say to me, "Oh man, I couldn't do your job." I'm like, "What?" Again, because it's funny how, people are wired. Public speakers are just wired a different way. We're just, we're wired to love all the eyes on us. And the more eyes, the better. We're just wired to feel good about ourselves when we're in those environments. Whereas, people who are not wired that way, they freak out. And yeah, I get it. I see it all the time. You do too. I think though that there's still a message there for, you don't have to love it. Just like there's a part of my job that I don't love instructional design, and again, I never will, but I recognize its importance. Everybody must have some level of competency getting up in front of a group of people and saying what you need to say and delivering your message comprehensively and clearly and with maximum impact. Everybody needs to know how to do this to some extent.
And those are skills that can be developed. When you're going through and learning to become a public speaker, it doesn't mean you have to become one of those folks like us who can stand up who thrive on standing up in front of an audience and reaching everybody directly with the power of our words. And you just, pick up on that energy and absorb it. And when things go really well and you just have one of those awesome experiences where everything is in sync and I feel like my teeth are vibrating at the end of it, that is the exception. That is not something everybody has to crave. But being able to just stand up, to execute simply, to start with a clear vision, to craft your presentation in a way that is going to deliver your message, to practice, to rehearse, to get there. Folks can be very good and excellent public speakers without having that same thirst or that same passion for it.
There's no question about it. And it only takes a few fundamentals. I mean, really, it doesn't take much, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't take much. It takes only a few fundamentals of speaking with proper vocal variety. And there's a topic right there. Presenting with a purpose and having your thoughts organized. And that's a topic right there. And then having effective visuals to reinforce your words. That's a topic right there. You nail those three things, that's it. I mean, you don't need to be able to do anything else except have some competency with three fundamental skills in the discipline, and that's it.
And that's a lot of what we talk about. It comes down to, the preparation. When it comes to actually doing an effective presentation and speaking to a group of folks, and I think this is probably something you pick up in the instructional design as well, and something you pick up over the years of experience, is that 90% of the success of your presentation or your speech is already determined before you ever start speaking.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing that you say that, because here's the thing, people, if people watch you and I do it, and and they watch us get up there and we do our thing, and they're saying, wow, how long did it take you to prepare that? And of course my answer is like, well, I don't know. I mean, about 2 minutes before I went up there to get it. But here's the thing, even though that's technically true, the fact of the matter is, the thing that I did, I probably rehearsed that thing in my head 100 times. Either I was in the car, or I was in the shower, or I was just standing in front of the mirror, getting dressed, whatever. And I rehearsed that thing over in my head. I just ran the scenario over and over and over and over in my head. That's the thing that people don't see, is they don't see people like us. Again, the way that we're wired, we prepare these things automatically. Someone who's not wired that way, you got to rehearse. You have to get up in front of the mirror and deliver it to yourself, or deliver it to that audience in the mirror. You have to get up in front of your friends, your parents, your loved ones, deliver that. You don't even have to be in front of them. Get on the phone and just go through it once. Hear yourself do it once. Let others hear you do it once. Even just that one run through, just that one simple run through, is important enough for you to feel better about your material and your place within that material. I think that's so. Yes, it absolutely requires preparation. But I think another thing is, it doesn't even require as much as people think. You just need to hear yourself do it and have others hear you do it once or twice, just to get a sense of that and get some feedback. And then you're pretty much good to go. Unless, and again, if it's some big complicated thing that's multiple parts, that's a different story. But if we're talking about one simple presentation, 20 minutes, you make a couple of key points and you're done. That one run through is always an important thing. If you have the mind to do that every time, then you'll be in good shape. Your preparation will be where it needs to be.
Exactly, and that audible run through. I mean, that's the key. That's the key to it. It's not just about doing it in your head. You have to say it out loud, and then that gives you a few things. Not only does it give you the practice of doing that, it also gives you an opportunity to actually figure out where your tongue is going to stumble over phrases that might look good on your computer screen, or that might seem good in your head, but until you actually take the physical step of verbalizing it, you don't know that. You also can't get a true sense of the time of your session until you actually do that out loud.
And that's where I screw up. Yeah, timing is, that's where I screw up, because again, when you're a natural and you don't do the physical rehearsal as much, because again, we're weird. We run this through our head. We do phrasing in our head over and over and over again. But that's where I get screwed up, is if I don't give myself one verbal run through, my time's going to be off. It's going to be off. And that's the lesson. The lesson is, it doesn't matter how good you are, how natural you are, how long you've done it. You can't just have fixed timing. It doesn't. That just doesn't work. It flat doesn't work.
So when we talk about the preparation that goes into this and the time that goes into it, when you see a really amazing speaker, somebody who just does an awesome job, that's not the first time they've done that. They've probably rehearsed it, or they've been doing this for literally years. And you and I both have decades of experience doing this. So I know you got your start with a lot of, working with the audience and getting out in front of this with the speaking back, doing drama and speech in high school. Right. And how does sort of that get you to, drama club in school, get you to where you are today?
Oh God, man, that is such a good question, because it's hard. Again, this is where it's a little trickier. And again, this is not me trying to be all conceited about it, but where you and I differ is we are naturals, and it's not as if you and I needed to really work tremendously hard to find our rhythm in this thing. We just had it. We were born with it. For me, where the theater aspect helped me is it helped me find, and this is going to sound strange, but it helped me find myself. It helped me find my actual voice. And the way in which it did that was playing, a few, and it wasn't like I had lead parts all the time. I mean, I had bit roles and I had supporting roles and things like that. But being a part of the production and having the opportunity to play a few different roles and have a few different settings across a few different types of shows, whether we're talking comedies or dramas. That's the thing that actually helped me find my true voice, because one of the things that I discovered was whatever character I was playing, and this happens with all actors, whatever character I was playing, there was still a little bit of me in there. Tim Garber was still a part of this, even though Tim Garber was playing a professor or a musician or a producer or whatever. And that was my discovery was I was always bringing in a little bit of myself, and that was the thing that allowed me to have my big voice as a speaker was finding my voice through playing roles and discovering those pieces of myself, those things that made those parts my own. Those were the things that I was going to carry with me as a speaker pretty much for the rest of my life. I mean, pretty much until you and I sitting here right now, because I have a very specific turn of phrase. I have a very specific cadence. I have a specific vocal variety that trends in very particular directions, and it happens every time. And that's the thing about public speaking, is that you will be at your most comfortable when you find your voice, your sound, your rhythm, your cadence. It even goes so far as your hand gestures, and I'm a hand speaker, so I'm very somatic that way. You are too. And once I discovered a commonality with all those things, no matter what part I was playing, no matter what speech I was giving, no matter whether I was trying to be funny or I was trying to be serious, there were still some very, very common components, things that happened pretty much the same time, and things that would work for me, things that would allow me to deliver comfortably over and over again. And that's the big key. And nobody can teach you to do this. This is the thing, Bill. This is the thing where each speaker just has to find it. But the process of finding it is doing different things, trying different things, playing different roles, writing different kinds of speeches, and then delivering those. It's the volume of work, Bill. I mean, really, there is no substitute for it. There's no substitute for volume of work. There's no substitute for experience. That's how speakers find their voice. You can't coach that into a speaker. You can coach them on the fundamentals, right? On posture and diction and vocal variety and and proper movement and pacing and blocking and all those things. You can coach that into somebody. But at the end of the day, that speaker's going to have to find his or her voice. And that's how it got me there. That's what drama did for me. That's what speech and competition forensics did for me, was it allowed me to find the voice that I continue to use this day, that I'm using right now with you on the microphone.
Yeah, what's really interesting about that is I think John Clark talked about this a few weeks ago when he was on, is that finding that voice is also, whether you're a speaker, an actor, or a stand-up comic,
yep.
It's ultimately when you start to become successful is when you find your voice, because your own, there's something more authentic about everything that you're doing, whether you're playing a role, whether you're doing something fictional, whether you're, promoting the latest rebate plan that you want your organization to adopt, or the latest vendor plan, or the latest thing you want to sell. There still has to be an authenticity about that. And when you're authentic, that's when you can be passionate. And when you're passionate and authentic, that's when people really get interested in what you're doing. And to find that voice, you've got to go out and do it.
And John is a good example of this, because, if I've heard John either in one of his YouTube videos or his stand-up routine or just some script he was working on, I recognize that. I recognize that he had a specific voice, and that was his foundation. And then he would build his character or his comedy off of that. So yes, that's a good example, because that counts exactly in the way that you described.
So since we're talking now about what you did in drama and speech, you've got two kids that are young and rapidly getting older, and I'm sure it's, I feel like tomorrow you're going to send me the email that that they're off to college now or something.
Yeah.
But so, as your kids are now approaching high school, or still a few years off, but getting there, what are you telling them about competition forensics or theater? Are you driving them to do that? Are you letting them discover that on their own? Are they already passionate about that sort of thing?
So, well, I'm happy to say, they are a few years away from high school. I know it seems like that they're older, but Gracie's 5 and Josh is 7.5. But here's the thing. So let me start by saying I'm mostly just kind of letting that happen on its own, because the performance bug is a funny thing. It can strike different, some people are late bloomers and it will strike them a little bit later. Some people, they're born with it, and it comes out early. In the case of my son, it came out early. He loves to be on stage. He loves to perform. He loves to have an audience. So what I've been doing with him up to this point, because again, he's only 7.5, is to just let him have some fun. Just let him enjoy it. I mean, I stay away from rehearsals. I don't mess around with that. I just let him do what he does. I let the director do what the directors do, and just let him have fun on stage. Because when you're a kid, that's the important thing, is you want it to be fun, and you want to develop your love for that, because it is fun. It starts there, and you can get all serious. I mean, once you get into like junior high, then you can start to get serious about it, because you can start competing on speech teams and things like that. And that's fine. That will happen when it happens. But the important part now for kids is to just let them have fun with the stage. Let them have fun being in front of an audience. Just let that part sink in. You can't force it. You can't force a performer. It's something they're going to have or not. It's something they're going to want or not. Right now, he enjoys it, and there are school plays and things like that. And there are children's theater workshops in the summer and things that we've done. We will continue to do for as long as he decides he wants to do it. I will start having more structured conversations with him about it when he approaches, let's call it junior high, and see where he's at. If he decides that he still wants it, then I'll volunteer whatever coaching he wants, but again, I won't force it. I think that with kids, that's the big key. You got to let it come, but it has to start from a foundation of fun, because the love comes from that. And then if they decide they want to get serious with it after that, great. And then you can have a different conversation at that point.
As we're wrapping up, what is it that you personally most enjoy about speaking, whether it's to your class, whether it's to a one and done, whether it's to an audience?
Oh,
What is it
God.
what is it you enjoy the most?
Dude, how it's both. I'm gonna sound very pretentious now. It's both crystal clear and damn near impossible to explain. You alluded to it, when you were making your comment about how, you got the audience and you do your thing and you get the rush and then your teeth rattle, because the adrenaline and the excitement of having worked that audience like there's no tomorrow. Here's something I'm going to say about myself that I'm not even sure I've admitted this to you for as long as you and I have known each other. One of the things about me that's also a little bit different is that, well, I'm not unique in this regard, but it is a little bit different in that I for years have felt more comfortable in front of large groups than I have in front of, a couple of people or one-on-one. I'm not nearly as comfortable in that setting. And the reason for that is when I'm one-on-one, it's not as easy for me to let my voice be the presentation of myself. My voice be the picture that I can paint for someone. When I'm in front of a group, it is much easier to do that. It is far easier for me to let the presentation speak for who I am and who I want to present myself as. It's in a sense, Bill, it's very weird. In a sense, it's as if I can take this audience, this big audience around me, and the bigger the better, and I can use it as a blanket, and I can wrap myself in this blanket of the audience being focused on me and letting my voice, be the best part of me. It's much more difficult to do that, and I don't know why. I may never be able to explain why, but it's much more difficult for me to do that in a one-on-one setting. So I think one of the things that I really love, I love the performance. I love the fact that it's something that I do well and can say that I do well. But I think it's also important for me because it allows me a mechanism to just communicate best when I have that audience in front of me. I think I love it, Bill, because I'm just wired to love it. And I think that people who aren't necessarily wired that way can still get enjoyment out of it because I love it the most when I am actually on a topic on which I'm really, really passionate about, because then that adds just another element, just another layer of bliss onto the thing. For people who are not natural speakers, for people who don't feel particularly comfortable in front of those large audiences like I do, like you do, when you are passionate about something, that's your moment. That's your moment to shine because it's something on which you're obviously going to be knowledgeable. It's something with which you can speak with real, genuine feeling and have that genuineness come across. So that's the advice I give people. The thing that I love is the thing that can help you to be genuine, to be passionate. That's how you can not only be good, but also feel good in front of an audience.
That's awesome. You
didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, I didn't. And I can totally understand that. I think it can be a powerful thing, and a lot of folks seem to think that in order to be a successful speaker, you have to be one of those extroverts who's always out and always looking to talk to people, and whether individuals, groups, or whatever. But there's a lot of speakers may be less comfortable in that small setting, that talking one-on-one, that going up to somebody at a party or a networking event, but really can let them true selves come out in front of a large group in a way that's
the grand performance. It's the grand performance, that lets that happen. And this is, and again, I'm not unique in this regard. There are plenty of actors who I know feel that way through what I've heard and what I've read. It's just one of those things. And I think that, people, again, who don't feel so comfortable about it, take heart that what I get out of it is what you can get out of it. The opportunity to give people something, information, something, convince them of something that you're passionate about, that is important to you. Let that be your strength. Let that be your confidence. Let that be the thing that propels you when you are in front of that audience, because that's your moment. That's your moment to do that, to feel good about that, and to deliver the best message that you can, and let that be the thing that helps you find your voice.
Well, Tim, if folks want to reach out to engage with you more, how can they do it?
You can find me in the usual places. You can find me on Facebook. Just look for Tim Garber, and you'll find me. You can look for me on LinkedIn. You can find me through Google. Just Timothy J. Garber on Google. Heck, you can find me through our side business. My wife and I have a side business. We're called Fairy Realm Creations, your source for creative photography and costume pieces in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So, hey, you can find us there too.
I've seen some of the pictures from that, and that is just, that is just, freaking adorable.
It's all Angela. That's all. I'm the guy who gets up and speaks and does weird and is weird about it. And Angela's the person. Angela's the actual creator behind it. But fairyrealmcreations.com is where you can also find me. But I invite anybody to reach out to me if they have any questions. To get on social media, look for Tim Garber or Timothy J. Garber. Ask me whatever you want. Don't be shy. We're all in this together, and I'm always happy to help out.
That's it for this week. If you missed Tim's contact links, you can rewind and catch them again, or just head over to the show notes for this episode at 2minutetalktips.com. Did you enjoy this episode or find value in it? Let us know in the comments for episode 11. And if you enjoy 2-Minute Talk Tips, please subscribe in your favorite podcast app and leave a rating or review in the iTunes store. Until next week, try recording your next rehearsal or presentation and celebrate the passion projects in your job. And of course, don't get best, get better.